All right, I see you dancing on the intro. I love it. You must be hyped. You're ready to go. I'm Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting, and this is Finance and Technology Insights.
I'm Eric Bjerndorf, CEO of Evernet Consulting. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, it took us, what did we take? A couple weeks off, I guess, for
Took a
various
couple weeks
reasons. And
off.
now we're back
It's,
at it.
yeah, the September is what's the expression I always look for? Yeah, fits and starts. What is that? Is that an expression?
Yeah,
Starts and
what is the,
stops. You know.
I guess so. Yeah, there's something about September. We've had, September's by far my favorite month of the year. I love September.
Is
It's
all the
everything
Mondays
about it.
off? Is that what does it?
Well, yeah. No, the weather's usually pretty good in September. The days are still relatively long. I mean, we've had a little stretch of rain here the last few days, but um, next week looks good, even though it's October. But yeah, I always like September. It's my favorite.
I guess I don't dislike it, but it is disruptive. The kids start school midweek,
Hmm.
half day, then Labor Day, then Yom Kippur, which was yesterday.
Right.
So it seems to be you know, I mean, when I was younger, you like those 3-day weekends. Now
Right.
it's just like let's just get everybody back.
I know. And they're a little bit easier to deal with when they're federal holidays or when it's, Memorial Day, 4th of July, that kind of stuff. Obviously, 4th of July is not a school day, but business wise, it's kind of, you get those days when the kids are off, but people are still working. Some people are working, maybe not, so it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
figure out what's going on.
yep,
Even you were en route yesterday, and I was like, well, I'm kind of working today, but my wife's off, but my son's at school, and it's like, yeah, I worked in the morning. We're taking a long lunch, and yeah, it is kind of tough to get into rhythm, but
yep.
no,
So
no, it's
so
all
what's
good.
going on? What's going on otherwise? Work and fam. Anything? What'd you guys do recently? I apologize for missing you last week.
Yeah, last couple weeks, I don't know. We've done some good stuff. I think probably maybe to our longtime listeners, we early on we were talking a lot about your flight stuff, which was pretty good. We haven't mentioned that in a while, but you are a pilot, and kids are into planes and trains and all that kind of stuff. So we took a ride over to a really tiny kind
Yeah,
of
that's
local
right.
airport here, and it's like it just I don't know, for whatever reason I'd never been there before. And just after school, it was a nice day. I'm like, all right, let's go check it out. And we just kind of walk right in. They had a couple little Adirondack chairs there. It was a nice day where the windows were open, so we could hear the communication,
Was it
between.
busy?
Actually, the first day we were there, it was pretty busy. I would say we were there about an hour. We maybe saw 10 planes come in. And I think it was a lot of guys, a lot of young people getting their hours in because they do run a
Yep,
flight school there. So a
yep.
lot up and down. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, for a 5-year-old, you can't beat that. And
Plane spotting. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was. And so I asked him the next day, I just said, hey, is that something you want to do again? And he was like, yeah, let's go. Like, all right. I don't have a reason to say no. It doesn't cost you anything. We just kind of went there, we had our water bottles and sat there and watched some planes go in and out. And he thought it was funny to see the planes go over and, get gas at the gas station like a car would. He was cracking up. He thought that was funny.
That's
So
cool.
yeah, that was pretty fun. It's just kind of one of those things that's close to home. It's like easy to do. And, it's something to do that's not overcomplicating things. I think
Have
we've
you ever
talked
been
about
to
that.
a Have you ever been to a fly-in?
A
You
fly
had a
well,
fly-in?
so one of the things we were gonna do this weekend was the Simsbury fly-in, but that ended
Right,
up being canceled,
right. They
because of
pushed it to
all the.
next Sunday, by the way.
They did, yeah, so that might be still on the agenda, but yeah, that'd be fun to go to. You'd get a kick out of that, so.
The Simsbury one's kind of brutal because it's a two-lane road in and out for a mile on either side, and they've in the past not managed getting people in and out very well.
Okay.
So it could be depending on how they're managing it. They really should run. They should force people to park on the periphery and bus everybody in.
Mm.
But I've been turned off in the past by sitting for an hour in an idling traffic line well before the airport. So I'm not a
Okay,
big
well,
fan.
yeah, that's good information. That's good to know.
Yeah,
So yeah, we did a little bit of that, and just kind of normal fall stuff. Got some activities around school. He's doing soccer, tennis starts up again tonight. He did a year of karate, so we we kind of stopped that for now. Although I could see him going back at some point. We really liked it, and it was good for him. Um, and as an only kid, it was good for him to kind of get, you know, I don't want to say roughed up a little, but good for him to have some contact, some controlled contact with like another kid, because
It's good for a young boy to get a forearm to the jaw every once in a while.
yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, the little bit of self-defense that they did, I mean, but it was martial arts, it's a lot about the ritual of it and the confidence of it and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was good for him, but the thing about karate is it's like a year-round thing. It just kind of never stops, It's not like a season
Right,
where you're like, we'll play soccer for 8 weeks and see how it
right,
goes.
right.
It's just constantly there. So it's a tough thing so we paused that for now. But yeah, tennis and soccer are going. Looking at doing some Cub Scout stuff, I think starts next week or so. So anything exciting family wise with you?
So I don't know if I told the audience that I started an MBA at the University of Connecticut. So
Yeah, I'm
that
excited to
was
hear about that.
Yeah, so that launched 4 weeks ago or so. Last weekend was my second class day. I think it's about 11 hours on a Saturday,
Mm.
sitting in a classroom. And yeah, it's starting to heat up a little bit. It's assignments are coming and expectations are forming, and that's good. So it's really flexing the noodle, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that was last weekend, and I apologize that missing the recording last week was my fault. So I was just juggling some things and I wasn't able to put us together on last Tuesday. What else? What else? What else? So the youngest, she's doing gymnastics. She's been my youngest child. She's been fascinated with fashion design and clothes,
Mm.
and she takes any spare piece of fabric or clothing, and she just wants to cut it up, staple it together, glue it, tape, and make costumes or outfits for her dolls and her Barbies and
Wow.
things. So I bought a sewing machine, I think a year or two ago, and I was hoping my wife, because my wife kind of was like, I'm into this too. And so I bought a sewing machine, I think 2 years ago, and was hoping that she would kind of lead that a little bit. And that
Mhm.
never happened. So that's collected dust in a box. And so about 3 or 4 months ago, I finally unboxed the sewing machine myself. And I read the instructions, and I was kind of drawing from some, I think, seventh or eighth grade home ec classes, and was able to get the thing to sew fabric. And I was teaching all three of my two daughters and my wife, how to like use the sewing machine, and they were really kind of into it. But then it kind of sat idle again for a few months because
Mm.
the little ones could like, Daddy, will you teach me to sew? Can I sew? Can I sew? Can I sew? And I'm like, I really don't want to be the driver of this effort, so to speak. So I looked and found a sewing class for
Oh,
the
yes.
youngest.
That's great.
Yeah, so she participated in that for the first time on Saturday, and she's just absolutely
Oh.
thrilled. She's just absolutely thrilled. It's kind of a hike out in Torrington, so it takes
Mhm.
us about an hour to get out there, and so that's what we're doing. So that's what we did last weekend. So it's fun to see the kids have interests and then support that. I mean, and
Yeah.
for what that's worth, I remember back when I was a kid our interests really didn't matter. It didn't really matter. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted a bike. I got a bike. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
Um, but that was about it. So it's fun to just kind
Yeah.
of give to the kids and water the seeds that they want to sow.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's so important. I mean, we live in such an unbelievable time with, where we live, there's a lot of stuff around to do. There's other parts of the country who may not have, different activities and stuff for the kids, but just to be able to like pull up a YouTube video on just about anything, or like, it really is like such an amazing time for that kind of stuff. Um, think about this story with my dad, and I was trying to think of how much older he was than my uncle, but they used to get the Boys Life magazine, and on the back was this like radio kit, and
I got that exact kit.
yeah, and so this is mid to late 40s, so coming out of like World War II. So that like the materials and stuff like this for these kind of toys like weren't available. We think of like now you can just go and get kind of any toys, but everything was so focused on the war effort. To have like any kind of toy or whatever was like a big deal.
Right.
And
Right.
my uncle, who was I must have been like 5 or 6, was like obsessed with this ad. Like he would like to get the magazine just to look at this ad. And my dad was like, oh, I'm gonna save this up and get this for my younger brother. And he like worked hard and saved his money and somehow got like this radio kit or whatever. And that ended up being the field that my uncle went into. And he ended up working for like Motorola, and he was big in like the cell towers, and he was a climber of going up and
That's
like fixing the
amazing.
towers. And it all goes back to like, and it's so you think about this stuff at the age that our kids are, you just don't know. You keep throwing stuff out there and see what sticks, or something
And
they might
that's
revisit or come back to.
in that same vein, I sometimes think, how much does the limits fuel the drive? If
Mm,
so like if your uncle could have gone to Radio Shack and just gotten a radio, would he have
yeah,
then been obsessed with radio technologies and gone in that field, or would it have just been a instant gratification, played with it, and then on to, you know what I mean? So like a
yeah,
steady
right.
stream of like, so this is what I fear for my kids. My kids
Mm,
have anything that they want, and I try so hard, and I've largely given up at this point to resist over consumerization of my children.
yeah,
And no disrespect to the mothers, but it's like I just lost that fight, and it's the kids just get, In fact, yesterday I was going through the youngest bedroom, like, hey, what can we throw away here? What can we throw? It's like the
yeah,
exercise. What can we throw away? So I wonder, like, and I did the same thing. I obsessed over technology and electronics. I didn't have video games until I was like a teenager,
yeah,
and then I ended up going into the technology field because you know, how much of it was the fact that I was lacking. I didn't have all of those things, you
yeah.
know?
hmm Yeah, and like in the other direction, my dad actually had got a computer at one point in his office and like hid that from me because he knew that I would be like into it, and he didn't want me to become like that, like obsessed with it. And he ended up like telling me about it in like the end of June one year, like over the summer or something. But yeah, I mean, the idea of just having everything sort of on demand and available, and even just not just from like a consumer standpoint, being able to buy something and have it the next day, but just the idea of like wanting to hear a song, like that's such a foreign thing to like a kid to be like to not be able to hear a song. Isn't that crazy
The
to even think
song
about
that
that?
they want when they want.
Yeah. Yeah, like as your brain is processing like what's the best avenue, like have I bought that song? Do I need to pull it up on YouTube? Like even that 2 seconds it takes for me to figure out what's the best way to access that song. You've got a kid going, "Come on, why isn't it playing yet?"
Do you
Right?
remember? Do you remember in the 80s and 90s having your boom box with a
Oh
blank
yeah.
tape loaded,
Uh-huh.
preloaded, ready? You're listening to the radio and you're just waiting for your favorite song to come on so you can record it.
Sure, yeah, and the pop stations that did like at night the top 8 at 8 or top 10, that was the gold mine because then you got those songs, and you could record it, stop, and
It's so funny.
you had your playlist for. But yeah, I mean, just the idea of the wanting of just having everything on demand. It's going to affect them at some point, good or bad. It's going to be a different experience, obviously, for them, but it's just something to think. I
It's
don't think
funny.
about it necessarily positively or negatively. Like I'm not one of these guys that are like, oh, kids these days, they don't understand, they don't get it. Like,
Right.
I'm not gonna ever be one of those people because
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
I
I
don't
look
think so
around at the
either.
kids and they're like every generation's bigger, stronger, faster, smarter. That's just the
So
way
how
it
much
goes.
of that
You know?
is going to be changed by AI? Did you want to segue into technology
Yeah, there you
first?
go. We can segue into that. Yeah, I think it's we talked about this early on. I just think it's more of from a creativity standpoint. Somebody who's creative always kind of had those limits of you're always going to run into some kind of limit, and not necessarily just creative in the arts or whatever, but even creative from a communication standpoint or from a building technology or something like that. The AI just strips out all those limits as far as um, from a geographic standpoint. You don't have to live in San Francisco or New York or Seattle or whatever to, you can be anywhere and access these technologies. They're not that expensive, from that standpoint. So there's no like, this kid in high school, his dad's got a $2,000 computer and I'm on a typewriter. This isn't fair. Like
Right.
all of that slowly starts to go away.
Yeah.
um, all that kind of stuff. So I think from a creative standpoint, it just takes off all those limits, which I think is phenomenal.
When I was a young business founder, I regularly was approached by friends and colleagues and people that would meet, and they they would come to me with an excitement and say, "Eric, I got an idea for a product. What do you think? Like, let's get
Mm.
this going." And I would say to them, and I would say, like, I don't want to dash your dreams here, but the idea is actually the easy part.
Right. Yeah.
The hardest part is the execution and
Execution. Yeah.
and
Ideas
the
are easy.
building. Yeah, exactly. And maybe AI will maybe lower that barrier to entry.
Mm.
Maybe you can take those ideas. I was just watching a very smart scientist and entrepreneur. I don't know his name, and I think he was talking to a group at Harvard, and he was describing how AI will allow more ideas to come to market because all
Mm.
of the execution and implementation can be automated. So, I think they're saying that, software, for example, if you have an idea for a software or an app, which so many have had, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's had an idea for the app, right? If you don't have to code it
Hmm.
or build the infrastructure or the technology to support it, and you just have the idea, and then you can just with voice prompts have the AI just collaboratively build your app with you.
Right.
A lot more of these ideas can come to market, and that's kind of exciting, but
It is.
kind of interesting to see how the impact to the economy is going to be. I think these big bubble companies are kind of going to get flattened a little bit, the Microsofts and the Googles actually. And the irony is, I think those are the two companies that are spearheading the adoption and innovation around AI.
Yeah, I mean, you have businesses that have gotten into so many other businesses. I think at some point, maybe this is the one business that triggers more of the breakup, that for years they've said, well, these certain companies get to a certain size, we got to break them up, whether it's, Amazon Web Services needs to be broken up from Amazon, buying things online, that part needs to be broken up or whatever. But I think we are going to get to a point where somebody says, all right, this stuff is too, especially with the AI, it just intertwines all these different businesses even more. And from the like the regulatory capture of all this stuff, being able to just control all these different type of businesses and control everything that comes out and the pricing and all that kind of stuff. Because you're seeing it now, even like when ChatGPT added their paid version, it was $20 a month or whatever. Now that's the price point. Now everybody's going to come out with their $20 a month version, and then it'll be, there isn't there's the barriers to entry, I guess, at the high level. I mean, I guess maybe that's how you frame the discussion. The barriers to entry at the high level are going to be much higher because there's not going to be a next, nobody's going to come along maybe now and be the next Google or Microsoft. But the barriers to entry on the lower level are lower than they used to be. So it's easier for us to use this technology to get into something that to put our ideas into execution. So maybe
Right.
that's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. I wish I had I wish I had that YouTube clip up. I don't know if I could pull it up fast enough, but
Hey,
it
we
was
can always
speak.
use our pause button here now that
Can
StreamYard
we
finally
can we
gave us.
pause? Let's
Yeah,
try.
let's do it.
Let's try it. Okay, this is so cool to pause recording. So this is the video. This is a video I was describing. Andrew NG is giving a talk on opportunities with artificial intelligence. This came out 3 weeks ago, and he describes why isn't AI widely adopted yet, And let's just see what he has to say.
15 years or something. But if you look at where the value of AI is today, a lot of it is still very concentrated in consumer software internet, right? Once you go outside, tech or consumer software internet, there's some AI adoption, but a lot of use very early. So why is that? It turns out if you were to take all current and potential AI projects and sort them in decreasing order of value, then to the left of this curve, the head of this curve, are the multi-billion-dollar projects like advertising or web search or for e-commerce, product recommendations, a company like Amazon. And it turns out that about 10, 15 years ago,
What
Vera's
speed
my
is
friends and I, we figured
this?
out a recipe
1.5, is it too fast?
Yeah, it might be a little too fast for the
All
for
right,
how
let
to
me see.
hire, say, 100 engineers to write one piece of software to serve more relevant ads and apply that one piece of software to a billion users and generate massive financial value. So that works. But once you go outside consumer software internet, hardly anyone has 100 million or a billion users that you can write and apply one piece of software to. So once you go to other industries, as we go from the head of this curve on the left over to the long tail, these are some of the projects I see and I'm excited about. I was working with a pizza maker that was taking pictures of the pizza they were making because they needed to do things like make sure that the cheese is spread evenly. So this is about a $5 million project. But that recipe of hiring 100 engineers or dozens of engineers to work on a $5 million project, that doesn't make sense. Or as another example, working with an agriculture company that with them, we figured out that we use cameras to find out how tall is the wheat, and wheat is often bent over because of wind or rain or something. And we can chop off the wheat at the right height, then that results in more food for the farmer to sell, and is also better for the environment. But this is another, $5 million project that old recipe of hiring a large group of highly skilled engineers to work on this one project, that doesn't make sense. And similarly, materials grading, cloth grading, sheet metal grading, many projects like this. So whereas to the left, in the head of this curve, there's a small number of, let's say, multi-billion dollar projects, and we know how to execute those, delivering value. In other industries, I'm seeing a very long tail of tens of thousands of, let's call them $5 million projects that until now have been very difficult execution
Tens
because of
of thousands. Did you catch that? You there? Oh no. Did you mute?
No, I'm here. I just muted during the clip so I wouldn't
Did
rustle.
so did you see how that am I failing to depict what he's saying here? Like you have Google and the Google AdWords and Google on the left-hand side, which is few companies with hundreds of millions of users that can afford the hundreds of engineers to build those systems.
Right.
But what he just said that he sees tens of thousands of opportunities where on the long tail of innovation that hasn't occurred because the implementation of the innovation was too costly.
Mm.
A pizza, a small pizza chain can't hire hundreds of engineers to build AI systems to make
Mm.
sure that his pizza is built perfectly according to the quality or standard they want to make, right? But with AI, he's seeing an opportunity where the AI tools are now becoming
Mm.
pedestrian enough where a $5 million project or whatever can now be launched because of the economy of the new tools.
Yeah, I think
Low,
that makes sense. I mean, think about if you go back 10 years, it was how do we create the next Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat and get, 100 million users or whatever. Now it's I've got a small person office. How do we create a business app that's specific to us that maximizes the time of this 5-person law firm, this 5-person advisory firm, this, 10-person IT company, whatever it is? How can we now finally build that internally? So you've gone from the idea of everybody's rushing to build these huge apps with all these users to the smallest amount of users. How do we build something very local to our business to
you could even say that there's even an economy that says, well, my business type or business need or use case is there's probably 10,000 people in the pool of people that would be interested in this functionality. Spending $100 million to develop a solution for that is not economical.
right?
But you could a small business could say like, well, let me build a solution that meets my needs, and I know it probably meets my contemporaries or my competitors or colleagues or whatever in this space. Now you could maybe package that up and still have kind of another revenue stream for your business. So now, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now you have like the democratization of ideas and this kind of like fast coming to market of like all of these like micro solutions, you know?
Mhm. Right, and micro solutions, as you said, to work with other businesses who are in your industry. But now it's like, all right, we've got those 5 or 6 employees. Before we hire this new person, can the 5 or 6 of us get in the room and spend, instead of spending 100 grand a year in salary, let's spend $50,000 worth of our own time. Let's see if we can build this 7th employee, this 8th employee
Right.
without adding another person to the team. Let's figure out if we can really do that. Yeah, I mean that's exciting from that standpoint, I would think.
Yeah. So I thought that was really clever. You want to rattle through some headlines and just talk about the
Yeah, let's do
headlines?
it. Yeah.
So let's do a little housekeeping here. You guys are watching Finance and Technology Insights. Brian and Eric, we are a podcast and YouTube channel. Follow us on any podcast or on YouTube. We do have social media. We do have a Facebook page where Brian and I um, post some news articles that we like to seed for conversation. I do have my Facebook. Can I share the Facebook here? Let me share this. So, in the AI vein, um, I don't know. I probably have been saying this now for months. But do you remember the headline that I said that I was waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, you wanted a voice prompt for it, which we knew was coming. It was just a matter of, you know, hooking up the right wires on the back end.
Yeah.
Even the Chat GPT app, I don't know if it was available on the iPhone or whatever, but you could definitely do that on the Google app. But now it's going to be much more.
On the iPhone, it was still the voice input was the keyboard's voice input.
Right, right.
Okay, so now they're saying this will be OpenAI, which is the creator of ChatGPT, released noticed that they are going to add voice
Mm.
functionality. We're going to be rolling out new voice and image capabilities in ChatGPT. They offer a new, more intuitive way. So basically, this is now that you're going to be able to talk to your computer, which is basically what I've been waiting for my entire life, and probably anybody who's ever watched Star Trek.
Right.
They did have there was a Twitter. They did post a video on Twitter about it. That was is this it?
We were communicating back and forth about the All In summit that took place and a lot of the content that came out from that. But it was funny as you were talking about Twitter when they had Elon Musk on and he mentioned Twitter a couple times. They had to correct him and say, "No, Elon, it's called X now."
Oh, right. Twitter. Yeah, I'm going to still call it Twitter
Yeah,
as until I get a cease or desist or until it's just not considered Twitter anymore. I know it's
right.
called X, and I'm not trying to. What is the? I don't want to make light of it, but I don't want to like misgender Twitter, but by calling it Twitter when it's
Right.
X.
It now identifies
Yeah,
as X. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I was late. When was it? Prince and Puff Daddy and all of those name
Oh yeah.
changes. I'll just wait until they definitely take hold, and then But I guess
Yeah,
that's not PC.
exactly.
That's not PC these days, I guess. But
The
go ahead.
yeah, with X, there's no. I was talking to my wife about this last night. She's like, "Yeah, I know it's called X and the app is X and everything, but are they still tweets?" I'm like, "Yeah, people still call them tweets because there's no X equivalent of it. You can't be like, oh, did you see what Eric X'd out yesterday? Like there's no verb for that yet. So it's still, oh,
Post, I think, is the generic post, right?
yeah,
X post,
post,
posted on
post,
X.
yeah, posted on X. Tweet's still better. So I think
And
people
it's no
still use.
disrespect to anybody who wants a name change or a change of identification. I just know that I'm not hurting Elon Musk's feelings or anybody who uses
Right.
Twitter or X for that
No.
matter.
Well, yeah, and even he's not up to even he's still calling it Twitter, so I don't feel so bad when I call it.
Right. I thought I was sharing the article, but I think I was maybe sharing just the
Oh, the Facebook piece of it.
Yeah, so let me just share this. Here's the Open AI upgrades ChatGPT. Now, do you see that?
Yes, I do.
So the AI chatbot can now see, hear, and speak.
Is that
Um,
actually a live X-ray of you of or MRI?
oh,
Is that you up there?
that there, yeah, right. That's that's what I look like on the inside. Man and machine bonded.
Hmm.
I wanted to show you the tweet though. There was they posted on. Do you see this tab here
Yes.
where it says it's the white bubble?
Yes.
Do you hear that?
I do not.
You didn't hear that.
Uh, well, let
Technical
me.
difficulties. That wasn't even a good one actually. There was one. Is it? No, there was another one where this guy literally was. Oh, here it is, right here. So,
Yeah, I did see this one. This is pretty
did you
cool.
see this one? Let
Yeah,
me know if you have the audio.
I do not.
Damn. It's a picture of his bike and tells ChatGPT, I need to change the height of my seat. And they're just having a dialogue about it.
Hmm. No, that's not a lever. It's a bolt, you
Wait until
moron.
he shows him. He sends ChatGPT a picture of his present toolbox. Here are my tools.
Yeah.
Here is my manual and tools. Do I have the right tool?
Hmm.
Yes, you have the right tool. In the left section of your toolbox, there's a set labeled DeWalt. Within that set, find the 4 millimeter Allen hex key. Use this to loosen the bolt. It worked. That's so funny. So uh, let me just summarize what we're dealing, what we just. I mean, I know. Did you saw that before today?
I did. I did. Yes.
Okay, so the headline is OpenAI is letting you speak to it and now send pictures and interact with pictures. The guy sends a picture to ChatGPT of his bike and says, I need to raise my seat. Can you help me? ChatGPT says yes. The guy sends a picture of his bike manual, sends a picture of his toolbox. Do I have the right tool? ChatGPT is like, yeah, it's the one there on the left side. You know what I mean? ChatGPT basically is describing like, yeah, it's on the left side of your toolbox. Grab that one there.
Yeah.
Um, so immediately, you know what I'm thinking, right? Throw that on. So, did you see that Facebook is releasing new, or Amazon is releasing? Facebook and Amazon are both releasing smart glasses, right?
Yeah.
Facebook's has a camera in it. Amazon, stupidly, I think, did not put a camera in it. I know there's
Hmm.
the whole privacy push, but as soon as you have that in a form factor with a camera on your face, you're now
Right.
having a real time conversation with AI about everything.
Hmm.
So I mean, mark my words, the next headline is within the next 12 months is Amazon's glasses are coming out with a camera on them, or Facebook is going to leverage, their LLM, and
Hmm.
that is like the next evolution, right? That's the holy grail.
Sure. Of
I
course.
get kind of way too excited about it.
Yeah, and it's fun because I feel like with this technology, it's maybe a little bit more predictable path than some of the others because we've seen this play out in like science fiction movies and all this stuff for so long. So we kind of know where this is going. We knew it was going to be voice command. We knew it was, we knew they were going to have a mobile app. We knew it'd be voice command. We knew it'd be integrated with shopping. We knew it would be, we know it'll be in our cars. We know it'll be integrated in the glasses and all that kind of stuff. So we know kind of where it's going. So it's interesting. And then the other thing, obviously, is since we've done the picture aspect of it, the next thing is video. So we're going to be holding our phones up to our bike and chat gpt is going to be like, oh, your tire looks like it needs a couple extra pounds air pressure to kind of play off that last clip that you had. So it's going to be more like video, and you're going to be talking to somebody and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to the pictures. So the path that this is going down. So I think that's why it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, here the Facebook or Meta smart glasses, where you made by Ray-Ban, you could see that they have cameras built into them, right? Or do you see am I sharing
Do yep,
properly? Yeah.
yep.
So now just add ChatGPT to this, and now you're walking through um, you're walking through a networking event, and you say, "Oh my God, ChatGPT, I don't remember who this is. Look in my contacts to see,
Mm,
who this person is approaching me." And it says, "Oh, that's Brian Williams of Northshire Consulting. You last time you met with him, based on your calendar, was last Tuesday.
mm,
You guys, whatever. I mean, that's the day. Or I
yeah.
mean, even with that bike example, you have the things on your face, and you're just like, hey, here's my bike. Can you help me raise the seat on my thing? You know,
How about doing a tour through like a historic neighborhood or through an art gallery? Hey, here's your glasses. Walk through the art gallery. Whatever you look at, program it ahead of time. Do you want the short 30-second? Do you want the 5-minute? Do you want the 20-minute? Any painting you look at, go in whatever order you want, and you're walking up and there's the Mona Lisa and you got your earbuds in and
tell
there
me
you
about
go.
this painting, right? Tell me
Yeah.
about this statue.
Let me interact with it. Let me ask questions. How old is the Mona Lisa? Oh, good question. The Mona Lisa is, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty exciting. It's gonna come probably the next 12 to 24 months in a smart frame, is my next prediction. The next big hurdle will be augmented reality in a lean form factor. Do you know what I mean by
Yeah.
that?
Well, yeah. Like those Ray-Ban. Like nobody wants the giant goggles. Nobody wants that kind of stuff. But
Nobody wants to wear goggles. I mean, and to be honest with you, my prediction is that the Apple goggle thing, the Apple eyewear, I forgot what it's called, the Apple lens or whatever.
yeah.
I think it's going to be a failure. The last
Yeah.
Apple has had failures.
Oh, sure.
They've had a number of high profile failures over their career,
Hmm.
or over their lifetime, and I think that Apple goggle is going to be maybe not a total failure, but I kind of do think it's going to be a total failure. I don't think people want to wear goggles like that.
Well, so yeah, it's interesting. That was one of the first I think they launched with kind of a long dated time frame. Usually they launch something and they're like, all right, this will be available in the stores next week. Whereas this had such a long time frame. You're like, the technology is going to be completely different in 18 months or whenever this thing is supposed to come out. When they launched it. So they're still iterating behind the scenes. So what they displayed probably never come to market exactly like that. And by the time it comes to market, I'm sure they're, even if, Steve Jobs was probably still in their head, make it smaller, make it smaller, make it smaller. And that's how he drove. Yeah. I mean, nobody's, you're
Nobody
not
wants
going
to
to
wear
replace
that in the office. I'm telling you, my wife does not want to wear that in our house.
no, and you don't want your
It
kids to wear those, but it's,
Yeah, I
but
don't.
yeah, they'll
I just
be like the Ray-Ban form factor. They'll be in that and they'll be, and
this is
that's,
what people this is what
yeah,
people can tolerate, right?
right. Yeah. Glasses. And that will be,
Glasses.
and the technology will be built in to do what glasses are supposed to do, and they'll correct your sight too. So it's not going to be the bifocals, trifocals. They'll be able to zoom in or focus on whatever you want. So they will still work as glasses, but they'll be using the AI to function in that feature. So zoom in to that dog that's down at the end of our street, so I can see who that is. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that. This I think, in a clear lens. I mean, if they could add that technology to dynamically give you sun shade, either on demand, or I know that there's like transition lenses.
Yeah.
But if they had augmented reality lenses on that with the cameras, ChatGPT, what am I looking at? Tell me about this, or give me
Mhm.
directions to that. That's what the holy grail is. This
Well,
is
is that the holy grail or is it the contact? like the eye contact.
You're
Is
right.
that
I'll
the holy
stand.
grail, or is it the replacement eyes altogether?
Right. Okay. I'll stand corrected.
I mean, you could keep going to like the nth degree, but yeah.
Although when I was watching Minority Report, I never felt compelled when Tom Cruise was having his eyeballs surgically removed and replaced. I at no point felt compelled to get that upgrade.
Yeah. Well, unless all those things sort of start off as a medical procedure for people that need it, and then it sort of evolves to, we've got prosthetic limbs, we've got, everything else. We'll end up with, if they haven't done so already, replacement eyes and all that kind of stuff. And they'll be like, well, if you can take the person with no sight now and give them sight, well, we're going to slowly move this along to, oh, here's a person that's 40/20, let's replace their eyes and get it to 20/20. It's just the idea of, or even better than that, of course, the idea of going, opening it up to a larger market.
Right. I don't want to cut you short of your opportunity to talk about anything in the markets or finance. Do you have anything that you wanted to talk, or do you want to keep leaning into the tech news?
Well, I mean, they are related together. I think, one of the big things is the UAW and their strike right now. And as it relates back to everything else, I mean, a lot of people are saying here that the big winner of this is probably going to be Tesla. Like, who's farther along in using fewer humans to make their cars? So it's like, is this you look at what the unions are asking for, and the unions represent the workers, and so the workers are paying a fee out of their paycheck to have the unions fight for them. So I never look at, I'm not one of these people who's going to be like, oh, can you believe what the union is asking for? I mean, it's a negotiation, it's a starting point, it's their job to ask for, that extreme end, with the idea of coming to the middle here. But it's definitely, this could be the part that's yet another turning point for the auto industry, where it's like, all right, we're going to give the folks to keep going today in October of 2023. We're going to give them what they need to get back on the assembly lines, but we need to accelerate the process that helps us make cars with as few humans as possible, because those robots can work 24 hours a day. They don't need benefits. They don't need, paternity leave. They don't go on vacation. They don't need 401k plans, unfortunately. They can. So, how long does it take for the, quote, big three automakers to transition to? I'm still actually surprised at how many people actually do work in auto manufacturing. Because whenever
Mm,
you look at it on the news or the videos, it looks like it's, 90% robotic, but obviously the car industry does still employ a lot of people. But I think this is just going to accelerate that. And Tesla, which I'm sure uses fewer humans per car than any other manufacturer, is likely to be a pretty big beneficiary. So maybe quietly, they're kind of hoping the strike rages on. What are your thoughts
wow, you
there?
think so?
I would think so. I mean,
I have a
anything that
lot of. Go ahead.
I mean, anything that puts your competition kind of on the shelf for a little while would be helpful to any business. But
Are you
so
saying that that's Tesla's hope?
I mean, not publicly, they're not, but I mean, it's probably not a
I
bad
think
thing for
Tesla.
them.
I think Tesla doesn't give a shit about this in the sense of how it impacts their business. I think, yeah, I think they definitely. I think they're laughing all the way to the bank that they are a non-union shop. So Tesla is not beholden to the United Auto Workers Union, and I have a significant investment in Ford stocks, for example, but emotionally I'm anti-union. I don't. I think, quite frankly, let the. I mean, I was not for the big bailouts when GM and Chrysler were bailed out by the government in 2008. Like, sometimes a forest has to burn in order for it to regrow healthy again. And the concept of labor negotiating with leadership is, I mean, obviously they make it work, but it only results in higher cost of product. I mean, that's all that equates to. And I think obviously people should be able to assemble and work together for their common good, and that's their prerogative.
Mhm.
So that's what, so I don't like, I wouldn't like, I wouldn't vote for any union busting legislation or laws per se,
Right.
right? But if I'm the CEO of Ford or GM or Stellantis, and a group of employees say like, "Hey, we're going to not work until you pay us more money," that is
Mhm.
not going to be my decision tree. My I would say, okay, we're going to suspend manufacturing until we can replace the employees. If I see the argument that Mary Barra earns, I think, 34 times as much as the typical uh,
Mm.
worker in the company. That's neither Mary Barra's fault
Right.
nor the worker's fault. That is literally the shareholders, the investors, the owners of the company that have approved that. And I don't know the inner workings of the board of directors and the shareholders' weights of and the internal politics and how corrupt that might be. I would promote laws and rules that make sure that that's as above board as possible. But on the basic level, Mary Barra makes 34 times the average employee
Mhm.
because the owners of the company have chosen that.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, that's a I've never been a big fan of that argument, the idea of, well, look how much the CEO makes. Well, if she made $1 next year and distributed her salary among all the employees, they'd get, I don't know whatever the number is, $5 or $6 a year or something crazy like that.
it's just two
It's
different things.
yeah,
It's hang on. Sorry, one of my phones is ringing. It's
and
just
I
two different concepts.
yeah, and I would agree but that except for maybe the really super elite CEOs, the majority of them are replaceable and probably overpaid. I would think that
But
that's probably
still, the shareholders have put them there.
right.
So if the owners of the company don't want these people there, they will rotate them out. If they don't want to pay those salaries, they will vote them out. And don't forget it. A lot of people forget that the value derived from their compensation in many cases is stock incentives. I mean, I think
Right.
Elon Musk, for example, like all of his billions and billions were just in
Sure.
stock giveaways because he hit certain stock valuation thresholds that,
Mhm.
quite frankly, nobody could have expected him to achieve.
Right.
Like he
Right.
literally achieved the fantastical unachievable from a stock performance valuation standpoint. And I mean, I remember reading in 2019 when he was getting his first tranche of stocks because of the performance of the stock. I was like, the board never would have thought that the stock was going to do that, you know,
Right.
but it did. The board did want the stock to increase, and it happened. And so, therefore, like, you don't make a deal that you don't make a deal that or you don't write a check that you don't want cashed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
And your role as a CEO is to drive shareholder value, is to
Shareholder
increase
value,
the price of the
which
stock.
is
It's not
exactly
to
what he did.
right,
Yeah.
right. So he should be compensated for that but if you're the CEO of a automaker who hasn't done anything in 15 years
Well,
except for
Mary
break
Barra is
in,
the perfect example of that.
yeah,
She's absolutely useless. I mean, her effort to transition to electrification is meager at best.
mhm,
She makes she operates in this sphere, and with Biden saying, "I love to play the clip right now. You did it,
mhm,
Mary. You did it. You led the
yeah,
transition to EV." Like, no, you didn't. You sold like 2,000 EVs last year. You know what
I
I mean?
know,
Like, it's just completely comical. You have these completely unhealthy companies, and then you have the union that is like the cancer. That's just, I mean, I say just whatever happens, happens. Like, but it's like the snake eating its tail. You know what I mean? Because it's hungry or something. Like good luck to all of you guys. And when it all burns down to the ground, Elon will will be sitting on his
mhm,
rocket, laughing all the way to the bank, and for no other reason that he's just making a product that people want.
right.
you have an
Yeah.
entire institution of this company that's making products that people don't want. I drive a 15-year-old vehicle right now. I don't want a Tesla only because they don't make the form factor that I want, but nobody else is making the car that I want. Like I don't
Right.
want these like this legacy, clunky, ugly 3,000 miles maintenance routine. Like
Mhm.
I just don't want that that crap. So it's like I don't feel bad for any of them.
Right. Nope, I think you're 100% right, and I think the balance between, and it comes at both ends, from the union side and from the management side, is how do you balance the short term and the long term? If you're the union rep, it's like, yeah, maybe you could get a good 3 to 5 year contract, but if that means the company's gone in 7 years, did you really do the right thing? So there is sort of a tipping point there, and same thing for management side. I mean, they could switch production to 100% EVs. They could probably figure out a way to do that in relative short order, but it would kill their profits now, probably, or at least that's what they're thinking. So,
Which I think is
and
false thinking, to be
yeah,
honest.
and the stock, part of how they're judged, obviously, is the stock performance and the profitability of the company, but that's on a quarter to quarter basis. So you have management and union who are probably, neither one of them is looking out 10 years. You could virtually guarantee that.
Right.
Probably not even looking out 5 years, and is that the best way to run a company? But that's the universe we live in now, where it's measured quarter to quarter, and there's no real driver for long-term shareholder value, or to the company, even to the shareholders, because they're not owning stocks directly as much as they used to, right? Because it's all done through funds, and nobody's voting, nobody's sitting down getting their dividend check in the mail, and got their certificates in their office and their desk drawer, and voting on who they want. All that stuff is done through the funds now. And if they don't like it, like, you own a stock, what are you going to do? You're like, I don't like the management, I'm going to write a letter and I'm going to vote them out. No, you're just going to sell it, because you can do it in 2 clicks and buy something else. So, that big picture is the issue of shareholder management unions, and nobody's thinking about anything more than the next few quarters, really.
Yep. They're gonna go the way of the USSR.
Yeah,
It's
there
just
you
gonna
go.
it's just gonna collapse.
Well, yeah, it's like the analogy of the Titanic, where the boat's sinking and the band is still playing and whatever, as the water's rushing in. You kind of get that feeling. It's like, do you guys people not see what's going on here? And they're just the band that's playing, right?
Yeah, I have a big holdings on Ford right now, and my position has doubled since I took it. But I'm long on Ford because I have my gamble is on Jim Farley. My gamble
Mm.
is that Jim Farley will navigate this kind of old and new to the point where he can get us products in the market that people do want, and we'll see.
And I think part of the reason those legacy companies have done um, pretty well is that they still have that brand, the branding and the cliche of the cachet of owning a Ford, or owning, but the next generation doesn't care
That is
about that.
going to that
If
is going to
anything, it's
die
like,
with Gen X. Gen X is
yeah,
the last generation that has any brand loyalty when it comes to automobiles.
I agree, and it's gonna be tough for companies that are just, like, even just going to the grocery store, like the idea of paying like 3 times as much for a box of Cheerios versus whatever the store brand is. It's insane. Like, nobody, you know, but that's kind of what the last generation did for, in a lot of
100
ways,
years.
for all sorts of those products. And it's just like, it's crazy. Why are you paying for something that is literally the exact same product? In a lot of scenarios, it's the same company makes the product. They put it in box A for 30 cents, and then they put it in box B for $1. And it's literally the exact same product. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Catch up, right?
Yeah, I know.
It's so
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
All right, what do you say? You want to keep going, or you want to tap
No,
out?
I think that's probably good for now. We're 54 minutes in. If we start something, we'll go way over an hour. We're not.
We got to use our paws. We brought up some multimedia content. I just found out that you can drag the two images like this back and forth
Oh
if we
man.
need to. That's new.
Yeah, I
So
didn't even see that. No, that is good.
StreamYard continues to innovate. That's excellent.
That is good. Yeah, I
So
don't necessarily have a preference left or right, but it is, I think, a little better when they line up over our names.
yeah.
So, but
Oh, okay. Right. So there you go.
yeah,
And we
whereas
record every Tuesday morning. We record to YouTube and your favorite podcast app on video. My name is Eric Bjorndorf. I'm the CEO of Evernet Consulting. We're a national IT and managed service provider. And I'm joined with my partner.
Brian Williams from Northshire Consulting. We're an independent investment advisory firm working with businesses and families to work on their investment and planning needs. And we record, let's say, 40 Tuesdays a year. Let's put it there. That's usually about where we end up, I think.
We take some liberties, don't we?
Yeah, we're, I think we'll get rolling, and during the school year, we'll probably, have a nice little stretch here of 3 or 4 shows a month. And so when you miss us, let us know. Let us,
Yeah, right.
X at us and be like, where are you
There are
guys?
exactly 2 people listening to the podcast right now, and it's you and me.
Yeah, and even I'm not even half. I'm only half checked in, so maybe
That's
1.5.
fine.
All right, we will see you next week.
All right, bye.